You're tuned into Taiwan Grooves. Let's explore the local music scene. Hello and welcome back to our second episode with Yu, a seasoned performer, conductor, educator, and big data interpreter. In last week's episodes, we dove into how Yu got to play music, what role it plays in her life, and we also discussed some operas. Now in today's episode, we're gonna continue where we left off, and that is with Yu sharing some of her favorite composers, seeing the rising or declining trends in opera audiences, and we'll also hear some samples from her own songs. So if you're just joining in and you want to be up to speed, I recommend that you go listen to the last week's episode. And for the rest of us, let's begin. So, would you have a favorite? Composer? Score writer?
Yeah, let's see. I enjoy Puccini's operas a lot, Verdi's operas a lot.
Okay.
And I also enjoy Tom Lehrer, who just passed away this year. He was an American composer who was a math teacher at Harvard. So he went to Harvard, and then he was big in the 70s because he wrote a lot of songs that were reflecting the social issues, pollution, Who's Next, which is about atomic bomb, or I Got It From Agnes, which is about STD spreading, and just like he was a brilliant person, and he wrote silent E to tell you if you add an E to a word, it changes the pronunciation, and it's fun. And he also wrote New Math. So I love him. He was a great performer. He wrote brilliant songs, and he did a lot of things that I do, which is singing and playing at the same time, and then writing things that reflect social issues. And now I also have quite a few contemporary composers that I enjoy, and I think we often emphasize on the past, and we don't give the nowadays composers that much credit. So I think for the operas now, the one that I'm really looking forward to seeing and experiencing the whole grand opera experience is Stanley Friedman. So he wrote an opera called Hypatia, and it's about Hypatia, the Greek brilliant woman who was actually brutally murdered because she was so independent, and she was a great thinker ahead of her time. And after her death, it led to the burn of the great Alexandria library. So he wrote this opera. It was reflecting a time, and it teaches a lot. I think we can learn from that story a lot. And he also wrote in a very brilliant way to showcase what voices could do. So it's not just about social issue, like he is solid writing as well. So yeah, I think there are quite a few, and hopefully I'll become one as well.
I'm glad you dove into this because I don't know anything about opera. So in my head, it's even today's opera is something that stems from way back in the day, and it's just kind of being relived, and people are performing them. So I was gonna ask if there's still being written new pieces every single year and all that. So
right, like I went to the opera convention in May, and we learned new operas. So we are constantly having new and new newer productions, and it's just a matter of trust, right? Because every company wants to make sure that they can sell tickets, and nowadays, even when you sell all the tickets, you may still not break even.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because opera is very costly. Like you build a set, the props, the costumes, and for how long of a performance? Like if you just have one performance, two performances, three, you can hardly make back all the money that you spent.
Wow.
And so this is not very budget friendly. Yeah. So then we tend to do things that are already there. One is for ticket sales, because if the audience knows this piece already, you don't have to sell this piece to them again. Also because of the very practical parts of it, like, oh, can I just use the old set? Can I use the old things? So but then when you think of what operas really were back in the time when operas were first composed, they were the music of the time. So we should not be afraid of expressing ourselves and call these our operas at our time. It takes a lot of courage. I'm hoping to see more people putting contemporary operas on, and not just the short ones, but like big budgeted ones. That would be really exciting. So for the interesting parts that I saw in the last convention, I saw opera stressing Alzheimer. So there were a few operas about old people in the homes. And then there was one about human cannibalism. That was Who's for Dinner or something. I can't remember what the story was, but it was a couple getting invited to a dinner, and they discovered that they were the only ones showing up. Other guests were not there, and then they slowly discovered that, oh, the host is eating people. So yeah, and there were also other really interesting things. So there are a lot of fun repertoire to explore. Yeah, I hope maybe we'll try to get the human cannibalism one to Taiwan one of these days. I don't know.
Wow, I'm happy that you shared this. I always thought opera would be like very serious topics, but it's nice to hear it's also a little funky.
Yeah, I mean, even like at Offenbach's time, talking about French comique, opera comique, and in one of the operas that he wrote a song of fly. So the flies were making love, and then they had like, it's so funny, and it's the opera with the music. Dun, dun, da, 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 da. So yeah, I mean, like the stories could be anything. It's what the composers feel connected to. So if they feel like
run wildly the imagination,
right? Yeah. So I write about teaching children things because that's my life. I wrote about massage session because I've experienced massage, especially the Taiwanese one that breaks your bones, and yeah, and it really could be anything. Yeah.
Since you already mentioned something about your work, could you tell me more, and whatever you will share with us, any sample or any?
Sure.
So you did one about massage or your kids to learn language?
Yeah, so I live in the States, in a town that has very low population of foreigners. So my kids, I know that it's going to be hard for me to teach them Mandarin. I give free Mandarin story times in the local library to connect with more Mandarin speakers, but then that's not enough. Like, how do I interest them? So I wrote the Bopomova song I can share, and then I had this grand idea of creating one song per syllable, per in phonetic alphabet, but then I stopped after the first one because it took a lot of effort to compose, to think through, and to make it fun and educational.
如果你想学中文歌曲，通常会先看注音符号，嘴唇变化有 b p m f， 舌尖动作有的特呢了，舌头中间咯咯呵及气息，舌头挑战牙齿，支持是日子此死。 请用 a o e， 双母音 i a o 难不倒我，舌鼻混音 an n ang n， 而很难相处，已无语超合群。
But at least they got their Bopomofo memorized, and then they had so much fun looking at it. And I also wrote the Minan song, which is Tell Mama. It's reflecting the motherhood, and a lot of it was how much more I appreciated my mom after giving birth to my first child. So it's very different.
Mama 讲 快乐伤心无爽快，拢甲妈妈讲。 妈妈讲，甲妈妈讲，甲妈妈讲，世界别人毋免插，甲妈妈讲，我嘛是安尼大汉，甲阿妈讲，着你，甲妈妈讲。甲妈妈讲，我袂甲你骂。甲妈妈讲，天若放落来，我会甲你抱安安。甲妈妈讲。
Yeah, so that, and I guess that is a song for my children and also for my mom as well. Then I wrote about quantum physics because I'm fascinated by quantum physics, quantum mechanics. And then my sister her name is Lu. So my name is Yu, her name is Lu. Calling my home is kind of difficult. Say, I want to talk to Yu and talk to Lu. And my dad eventually just says, you want the big one, the older one or the younger one? But anyway, so she is a flamenco artist. So she taught me some flamenco ballo. So they were like structures. And so I used a few flamenco ballos in the compositions that I created. So quantum mechanic used Garodin. And then I also asked my Italian coach, I said, hey, I have this idea of writing a song called La Meccanica Quantistica. Can you check my Italian grammar? Does this make sense? And he was superb. I wrote out some broken Italian and he turned them into poetry. For instance, La meccanica quantistica è poesia e romanza, la usiamo senza una completa conoscenza. Like he made it flow so well. I didn't need to work very hard to set them with the music. So I wrote that. It was about using quantum mechanics to look at the world. It also described how I grew up. I grew up as a Buddhist, Taoist, and then later on learned Christianity. And then my sister is heavily involved with flamenco. And the beginning of flamenco, ole, it's actually the word Allah. And yeah, I didn't know that. And
Wow.
so you look at the history of gypsies, we dare to say that. They traveled around and a lot of them were Muslim at first. And they were being oppressed, and so they wanted to worship, but they couldn't call their god's name anymore, so they used ole to express that. So they said ole to anything. And then for the outsiders that did not know the meaning of the word, we just thought, okay, you did something great, I say ole, right? And then it's after the time long enough, and then this story got to be told again. So then now we know, okay, so ole, actually back in the time, it was Allah.
Interesting.
Yeah, like something new every day, right?
Yeah. Wow, having you here, I would do 4 or 5 episodes. There's just so much to cover.
Just so
many
much
different
information.
directions.
Yeah, I'm 42, so
Wow.
there I live longer.
So much to learn, so much to hear.
Yeah.
Wait, let me process that. Now, it's so interesting, how people say that you have 2 kinds of people. You have the rational people who like math, physics, and all that, and you have artsy people. We have a perfect example of
Combining them both.
Combined, yeah.
I actually think math is a super romantic thing. And especially after I learned a little more about it. I know very little about math. I learned nothing about quantum mechanics. I said this, especially after I started to take some physics classes, like to learn that we as humans are trying to achieve the range of error. We are narrowing down the range of error. Like no matter what kind of equipments we have, there is always a range of error. And I find that part of thinking extremely romantic. So I believe mathematicians, musicians, deep down, we are all crazy romantics. Yeah, because we have to deal with this part, this imperfection, knowing that there is always something that's not quite the same, but we are processing it. And also looking at the universe, like, so at first, of course, I did not know that the universe is expanding, right? So then we romantically think of, okay, going back in time, if we can achieve the speed of light going beyond it. And then we're like, no. We still couldn't go back to the point because the universe is expanding. So even though you are able to go back in time, you are not going to end up at the same spot you were, unless that traveling somehow was also pulled by the gravitational force. And so this just made my brain explode. And so like to think of things like that, that's just so romantic. Like, so much unknown over there. So yeah.
That's also very poetic. Like, what do mathematicians and musicians have in common? Romanticism.
Right,
so
like
nice.
deal with the unknown and being okay with it and appreciate it. Yes.
All right, I have a couple more questions, and one of them would be, in your eyes, do you think the audience for opera has become larger or smaller in the past, let's say, decade? Did you see any decline or more people going to opera, since there's so many different topics and people perhaps make it more, not only like old subjects and they bring back the old times composers, but they do something new. They bring perhaps something with, as you mentioned, dementia or some more modern topics.
Right.
Do you see it brings more new audience into the theaters?
So I think in general, we have more population who have appreciated at least one opera in their life. Well, I'm saying it this way because we knew that the opera that we define now started from the bel canto singing in Italy. So we are looking at a smaller population at the time. And then in Europe, right, it's very location oriented. And then the spread, and it involves more and more languages in there. So then by default, the audience will become a larger population as well. And then now, because the technology makes it so approachable and so available, so you don't have to live in a country that produces opera. You can just watch Met broadcast or something. Like, a lot of companies are doing that now. As long as there is no copyrighted issue, like they get the rights from the composers, or copyright is another different thing to think of because it involves a lot of people. And so I do think that we have more population than ever that care about this art form. Also, we are looking at a different problem right now because we have many more people. Why is art suffering so much? And we go back to the thing that we talked about. Operas cost so much money to put on, and they don't, in smaller theaters, they don't run like Broadway shows. For Broadway shows, you build things and then you sell that for maybe a year, and so a lot of costs will be brought down because you get to do
run
it
the same set
right
in 50 different cities and
right. And then if you do newer operas, or you are at a regional company, you can't really do that because you have a smaller pool of population. They don't. I mean, I would go see the same opera again and again because that's what I used to do when I was a child. I could watch Bugs Bunny. What's that? Rabbit of Seville, something. I watched it every day, multiple times a day. I was okay with it. I still love it. And but I think I'm compulsive. Yes. But usual people probably want to spend their time doing other things as well, so they won't go see the same opera 30 times a year. Therefore, you need more productions, and that makes smaller companies suffer. And also because with the budget request, like you write out a proposal, you request budget from sometimes private companies or the government, the budget will come after you spend the money. And so if you don't have enough cash to survive through the way you're done, it makes it really tough. And I think that's why we're looking at the really weird split of opera world right now. We have grand operas that feature old operas, like we're still like praising Verdi, Puccini, Wagner, I don't think Wagner called his operas opera back in that time. He thought he was doing something really, really new. I agree. I agree. Nobody would write an opera 6 hours long like that. He did it. Anyways, so yeah, like, so we're still doing that because to sell tickets, we need to make sure that we make the money back. So for the grand operas, we still tend to do that. And then it's only when we have some extra money to spare, we also need to encourage something new. So then we do these things. So it would be really nice if we have an institute that's just like, you know what, I'm gonna do grand operas and only new grand operas, and then we attract all the audience that is interested in this part, which means that the audience may not be local. The audience could be coming from other countries as well. So my personal thing would be that if Taiwan could have something like that, because I know through my life in the States, the people that I've met, I know that there are quite a few companies in Asia that really want to share resources. So I think Taiwan is at that perfect spot that can go up and down, right and left. And if we somehow can look beyond Taiwan, like we don't want to be the best of Taiwan, we want to be the best of Asia, then we have a lot and we may be the best of the world if we have that kind of mindset. So yeah.
All right, thanks. Wow.
Yep.
Okay, I think due to time restriction, I have 2 last questions.
Okay.
And I have to pick carefully because I have maybe 10 questions left that I wanted to ask.
I'll type it.
But it's great. Look, I'm here for everything you have to say, and I'm very happy to learn about, because I know nothing of operas.
Yeah.
So everything that you say
Well,
is completely
you don't
new
know
to me.
nothing about operas anymore.
I have
I
1%
don't
discovered.
I don't know all about operas. Yeah, so know very little.
Okay, so you have done a whole bunch of working with students from different countries. Whether it's working a specialized program for children with traumatic experiences through music, right? Or fundraisers and all that. Now, does all of this made you see music education differently? Since you work with different groups of people, different languages, different regions, did that somehow make you see the whole music education differently? Or do you think the same approach could be taught everywhere?
So the way I teach is I learn from my students. I need to know what they're interested in, what they want to do with the music they learn. And then I craft the parts that, I tailor the parts that will help them achieve what they want. So for instance, my students who want to compete in competitions, I tell them what the judges are looking for. They want to enter the school. I tell them who the teachers are, what they like. And so anyone that goes through this with me would achieve so far, like that I've seen. And after all, it's all going to come back to what the students want. At this moment, this very moment, the largest pool of my students are engineers from the defense contractor. Because I talk in a mathematical way that is very easy to grasp by them. And then I don't have to separate my students. Different ages of students, different backgrounds of students, they get to appreciate different things. We also learn when we see other people learn. So that's that. And yeah, I think that's the way I teach. And I think that if my teacher taught me the way I teach right now, I probably would not be a musician today. Because, I mean, I have this wild imagination and I have this broad interest in a lot of things. And I probably wouldn't spend my energy in just music when I grew up like that. But then again, I think music is important because music helps you translate this big data analysis technique into other things that you can do in other fields. And so I do find it extremely important. In the world, the budget cuts, they cut music, arts. And that's like, I look at it, I was like, no. I mean, yes, you have all the technology, but then what are you going to do with it? Like, you need the creative mind to see the possibilities of what you can do with technology. Also humanity as well. So I think music helps you see that part, feel that part. Yeah.
Listening to your approach, I feel like this is how I can tell you're a very good teacher. And I think you got it from your mom to seeing what the student might need or what they want, and then
Right.
connecting through that way to teach them in an entertaining way.
Right.
So not just, hey, I deliver my point A to B, and whether you get it, that's up
Right.
to you.
I think
more
it's
like,
all based on the interaction.
I'll find a way for you to get it.
Right. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay,
Mhm.
very last question.
Mm-hmm.
For you, such a packed schedule of teaching, composing, everything, and now you have been delivering lectures all over Taiwan
Mhm.
while you're here for the 3-week period, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have one in Taipei tonight.
Mm-hmm.
When you do these lectures and master classes, do you have any main message or any advice that you always share to young musicians about the possibilities beyond traditional performance careers? Or do you have anything that you like to share with them or anybody who might be listening who's going into composing opera that they could take with them and just make them better musicians overall?
There is one thing that I always share in any lecture I've given, is that true value comes in time. Whatever happens right now is just this instance. I mean, I've been through several disappointments of my life at that certain points, but then they all end up, I think, being necessary to transform me into what I am today. And I'm still not able to tell you whether those are good or not. I think the moment that I get to say, okay, those are good, is the moment before I croak. So I would say that if we feel the world is not going the way we want right now, don't lose hope. Keep going. Keep doing what you're good at. Doing what you enjoy doing. I think that's very important. Having friends and family around you, good friends. You don't need many. You just need one that you can always talk with. That is important. And then you try to figure out, because no matter what things are, we will figure out. Yeah, and surround yourself with positive people. Okay, I'm gonna go into the self-help region, but I think that's the thing I've shared in every lecture that I've given. It's like all the disappointments that I felt were actually less of disappointments of myself. Like, I got disappointed because I knew other people wanted that and I didn't get that. So that's my disappointment. And when I moved beyond that point, when I could see what my goal really is, it changes everything. So don't lose hope. Keep doing what you like. Keep getting better no matter what you do. And have friends. Yeah.
Thank you for your time very much. I wish you all the best in your journey to becoming the biggest composer.
Dankeschön. 加油.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.